1964 Winter Olympics. The 1964 Winter Olympics slope wasn't made for glory, it was built for death. 19-year-old Ross Maline of Australia stood at the start gate, one of the youngest in the downhill event. Bold and determined, he had come from the sunburnt south to challenge Europe's icy elite. The course was notoriously treacherous, steep, icy, and lined with trees. During a training run, dozens of skiers struggled to stay in control on the blistering descent. The surface had hardened into slick ice, and the slightest imbalance meant catastrophe. As Maline approached one of the sharp lower bends, he lost control at a terrifying speed. Witnesses saw him fly off the racing line, skis slicing wildly through the air before his body slammed into a tree beside the track. The impact was so violent that several nearby competitors froze mid-run. Rescue teams rushed in within seconds, but it was already too late. The force of the collision caused massive internal injuries, instant and fatal. Medical staff fought to revive him, but there was nothing to be done. Ross was pronounced dead shortly after. His death sent shockwaves through the Olympic Village, prompting officials to question whether the downhill course had been too dangerous, even for professionals. 1992 Barcelona Olympics. In the 1992 Barcelona Olympic training, Diego Garcia, one of Spain's most promising long-distance runners, a European medalist and national hero, had trained his entire life for the Olympic stage. The morning training session began like others in the lead-up to the Games. Garcia took to the track with quiet focus, his stride steady and sure, gliding across the lanes. Each lap was smooth, deliberate between breath and motion. But beneath that perfect motion, something unseen had begun to fail. Near the final stretch of his 10,000-meter session, Garcia's stride faltered. He slowed, then suddenly collapsed mid-track, clutching his chest. For a moment there was disbelief. An athlete that strong couldn't simply fall. But his body convulsed, then went still. Panic spread. Teammates and medical staff rushed in, performing CPR, calling for emergency response. The stadium fell silent except for the desperate commands of the medics. Despite rapid resuscitation attempts, his heart never started again. Diego Garcia was pronounced dead from sudden cardiac arrest, an invisible killer striking at the height of a physical perfection. 1912 Stockholm Summer Olympics. In 1912, at the Stockholm Summer Olympics, 21-year-old Francisco Lazaro of Portugal, a carpenter from Porto, had trained in Portugal's mild climate and was eager to prove himself on the Olympic stage. His dedication and determination made him one of the promising marathoners of the Games. Temperatures soared to 90 degrees Fahrenheit with oppressive humidity as Lazaro and 68 other runners set off on the 26-mile course. In a fatal attempt to protect himself from sunburn, he coated his body with thick layers of wax and beef fat, believing it would shield him from the sun. Instead, this created a waterproof barrier that trapped heat and prevented normal sweating, leaving his body unable to cool itself under the relentless sun. For the first miles, Lazaro ran steadily alongside competitors from Sweden, Finland, and South Africa. But as the sun climbed higher, several runners collapsed from heat exhaustion. Lazaro began showing early signs of distress, labored breathing, dizziness, and confusion. By mile 18.6, witnesses reported him staggering and disoriented, classic symptoms of heat stroke. Pushing forward despite his body's warning signs, he collapsed suddenly with just 5 miles remaining, his skin pale and clammy beneath a melted wax. The combination of heat, dehydration, and the sealed-in coating overwhelmed his heart and temperature regulation. Spectators and race officials rushed to his aid, transporting him to Safenheimer Hospital in Stockholm. Despite frantic medical intervention, Lazaro never regained consciousness and died the following morning. Rome Summer Olympics. In 1960, at the scorching Rome Summer Olympics, 23-year-old Knud Enarmark Jensen, part of Denmark's four-man cycling team, had trained relentlessly for the race. The roads were open, temperatures soared above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, hot as fire, and the combination of long straightaways and tight turns demanded every ounce of endurance and focus from the athletes. Before the race, Jensen had taken a stimulant intended to boost circulation and enhance performance. At first, it seemed helpful, giving him a fleeting edge, but under the extreme heat, the substance impaired his body's natural cooling system. As the team progressed, the sun beat down mercilessly, sweat poured, and Jensen's strength began to waver. By the 92-kilometer mark, with just 8 kilometers remaining, the effects of the stimulant and the oppressive heat became undeniable. Jensen's pedaling faltered, his vision blurred, and disorientation set in. He struggled to maintain balance, weaving slightly on the road. Suddenly, he collapsed from his bicycle onto the scorching asphalt, losing consciousness immediately. His teammates could only watch helplessly as the race transformed from a display of skill into a scene of instant tragedy. Medical personnel rushed to his side, attempting to cool his body and revive him. He was transported to a hospital in Rome, but he never regained consciousness. Autopsies revealed that he had died from heat stroke exacerbation by the stimulant, marking him as the first Olympic athlete to die in competition due to a deadly combination of extreme exertion, environmental conditions, and performance-enhancing substances. 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics. In 2010, during the Vancouver Winter Olympics, 21-year-old Nodar Kumaratashvili of Georgia had devoted his life to luge, carrying the legacy of his father and uncle, both Olympians. Even veteran athletes felt the chill of fear as they navigated its razor-sharp turns, where every second demanded perfection, precision, and the margin for error was almost non-existent. During his final practice run before the opening ceremony, he lay on his sled, accelerating down the icy course, had navigated the first turns cleanly, reaching top speeds, but approaching turn 15, known as 50-50, his sled drifted slightly toward the outer wall. In a desperate attempt to correct, he applied pressure too late and too aggressively. The sled shot up the bank of turn 16, launching him into the air like a projectile. He crashed into a steel support pillar holding timing equipment over 87 miles per hour. The impact caused catastrophic trauma to his head and chest, leaving him unconscious on the ice immediately. Track officials and medical personnel rushed to the scene, initiating CPR and rushing him to the Whistler Healthcare Center. Despite their rapid response, he was pronounced dead shortly after the arrival. Video footage and investigation confirmed that his fatal crash was a result of the extreme speed and unforgiving design of the track, combined with a split-second error in steering. His death sent shockwaves through the Olympic community, prompting immediate track modifications, including higher walls, padding around steel supports, and stricter safety protocols for training and competition. 1964 Innsbruck Winter Olympics. In 1964, at the Innsbruck Winter Olympics, 26-year-old Kazimierz K. Skrzypecki of Great Britain was a dedicated luger, part of a small contingent representing his country in one of the most dangerous winter sports. Known for his courage and technical skill, he had trained extensively to master the high-speed curves and precision steering that luge demanded. The Innsbruck luge track was a twisting, icy ribbon lined with unforgiving walls. Speeds often exceeded 80 miles an hour, and athletes wore minimal protective gear, just a helmet and tight-fitting suits, leaving them extremely vulnerable to any miscalculation. Every curve and banked turn had the potential to amplify mistakes into lethal force, turning a momentary lapse into a life-threatening trauma. During a high-speed practice run, he misjudged his entry into a sharp curve. The sled veered violently, and at that velocity, nearly 95 kilometers or 60 miles per hour, he was unable to correct in time. Witnesses described the moment as a horrific impact, with him colliding with the ice and track walls with tremendous force. The crash generated massive trauma almost instantly, leaving him motionless on the track. The combination of extreme speed, minimal protection, and the track's unforgiving design made survival impossible. Medical personnel arrived quickly and attempted emergency procedures on site, but the severity of the injuries rendered all efforts futile. He was pronounced dead at the scene. His tragic accident became one of the most infamous Olympic luge history, a chilling reminder of the sport's lethal potential and the razor-thin margin between skill and catastrophe.